It's just past 5 p.m. across India, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I'm Tanvi Taneja. And for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Julia Chapman. Julia, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Tanvi. It's 11:30 a.m. in London and 12:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, voting gets underway in occupied Ukrainian territories. A far-right party receives the most votes in Portugal, and controversy over a photo from Britain's Princess of Wales. But first, the headlines.
Ramadan truce in Gaza eludes negotiators in Cairo. President Joe Biden says the U.S. will continue to work non-stop towards a 6-week ceasefire in exchange for hostages. Dutch far-right leader and PM-elect Geert Wilders pledges his full support to Israel in fighting terrorism after his meeting with Israeli President Isaac Herzog at The Hague. Portugal's centre-right Democratic Alliance AD wins in Sunday's tight general election results, underscoring Europe's political tilt to the far right. And Oppenheimer creates a big bang at the Oscars, winning 7 of its 13 nominations, including Best Film, Best Director, Best Actor and Supporting Actor. Emma Stone bags Best Actress for Poor Things. First news from West Asia. The latest round of Gaza ceasefire negotiations stalled last week in Egypt's Cairo, where, leaving Israel, the Hamas and the mediators were present. Talks reached a deadlock as Hamas did not accept a 6-week ceasefire agreement proposed by the mediators. Egypt, as a mediator, however, contacted with senior Hamas and Israeli figures on Sunday to continue promoting ceasefire negotiations. However, both remained far apart on key issues such as the definition and duration of a ceasefire, as well as how to release detainees. Meanwhile, U.S. President, in a press statement for Ramadan, said that the U.S. will continue working towards a 6-week ceasefire between Hamas and Israel as part of release of Israeli hostages, stressing the need for a two-state solution with equal measures of freedom, dignity, security and prosperity for both parties. Biden also added that the United States will continue to lead international efforts to get more humanitarian assistance into Gaza by land, air and sea, noting that the U.S. along with international partners has been carrying out aid airdrops. He said U.S. will continue to work with Israel to expand deliveries to the affected areas. As Ramadan begins in the Middle East, Israel said it will allow same number of worshippers into Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque at the start of Ramadan as it was in previous years.
Ramadan, let the reasonable public prevail. Don't lend a hand to extremists. So today we reiterate that this year and every year, Israel will strongly safeguard the freedom of religion for all faiths at all sites in Israel, especially the Temple Mount and Al-Aqsa. To those that say no worshippers are being allowed access to Al-Aqsa for prayers, they are wrong. The entrance of worshippers to the Temple Mount will be permitted in similar numbers to previous years.
Now, DD India's Alex Carrier joins us from Jerusalem on the story. Alex, tell us more about these issues holding up the ceasefire and hostage release deal negotiations.
Well, there are multiple issues, key issues that are stumbling blocks in these negotiations, one of which is a demand by Israel for Hamas to provide the names of all the surviving hostages still being held in Gaza. Hamas says it's simply not possible to do so long as Israel's military operations continue in Gaza. So until a ceasefire is reached, Hamas says they can't provide a list of those surviving hostages. Another issue is a demand by Hamas to allow men of fighting age to return to northern Gaza. Israel says that is not something they can contend with at all. And then, of course, the major sticking point, the biggest issue, is how this war will end in a more permanent fashion. And of course, what's a big challenge there is that the objective for Israel is the complete destruction of Hamas, which is a negotiating partner in these ceasefire and hostage release negotiations. So these key issues remain unsolved. We know from Egyptian security officials that they are continuing to talk with both sides. We know the United States is also very heavily involved in trying to bring peace to Gaza and bring a deal to release at least some of those Israeli hostages as well. We've heard just in the last couple of hours that the US is pushing for a shorter pause, maybe a few days pause in the fighting, to allow for those talks to restart in a more positive way, and to allow Hamas to possibly take stock of those surviving hostages. So certainly those issues still a sticking point, still an issue, still unresolved as the holy month of Ramadan has already started.
Yes. And Alex, what influence does America's continuous push for ceasefire entails in these talks?
Well, it's certainly going to be very interesting to see in the next few days and weeks the relationship between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Biden. They've clearly clashed and exchanged words in the last few days. Joe Biden said it was a red line for the United States that Israel should not launch a military operation in Rafah, and Benjamin Netanyahu overnight giving an interview saying that he will, and the Israeli forces will, go into Rafah if a deal to release the hostages isn't reached. So certainly the United States putting pressure on Israel as much as possible to reach some kind of a deal and to not launch a military operation in Rafah. But both Prime Minister Netanyahu, Benny Gantz, who's also in the war cabinet, as well as the Israeli public, who 3/4 of which support the military operation in Rafah, seem set on doing so, and that will lead to further tensions and a further reduction in the quality of US-Israeli relations. So certainly something to look out for in the coming days as the tension builds.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Alex Cadier joining us from Jerusalem. Dutch leader Geert Wilders pledged his full support to Israel after meeting with Israeli President Isaac Herzog over the weekend. Wilders, who is aiming to lead a new government after his nationalist PVV party won elections in November, has long been a staunch supporter of Israel. The Israeli president was in the Netherlands to attend the opening of a Holocaust Museum in Amsterdam over the weekend. Next, updates from the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russian forces have claimed advancements on the battlefield, consolidating their positions in various directions, while Ukraine has not remained passive either, launching attacks on Russian air defense systems. My colleague Julia Chapman is in London. She gives us more on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, plus other stories making headlines around the world. Julia, over to you.
Thank you, Tanvi. Officials in Kyiv say they shot down 15 out of 25 Russian drones in an overnight attack on the Odessa region into Monday. Infrastructure was damaged in the attack, as well as an administrative building and commercial sites. This was the 6th Russian drone attack on the southern region so far this month. Meanwhile, Russian forces claimed advancements in Kupiansk and strategic gains near Donetsk and Avdiivka, targeting and destroying several Ukrainian military assets. In a retaliatory move, Ukraine launched attacks on Russian air defense systems and electronic warfare platforms. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has swiftly dismissed Pope Francis's call for peace talks with Russia. The Pope has been criticized for saying that Ukraine should have the courage of the white flag. In a video address, Zelensky did not refer directly to the remarks by the Pope, but said that domestic religious leaders were supporting Ukrainians and not someone thousands of miles away.
I thank every Ukrainian chaplain who is with the army, in the defense forces, on the front line, defending life and humanity. They support us with prayer, with talk, and with deeds. This is what the church with people is, not 2,500 kilometers away, somewhere to mediate virtually between someone who wants to live and someone who wants to destroy you.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin on Monday said that the call by Pope Francis was understandable, and unlike Ukraine, Russia was always ready to sit down for talks. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said President Vladimir Putin had repeatedly expressed Russia's openness to negotiations, but said Ukraine had always dismissed any proposals. Ukraine has expressed concern that the premise of any such talks would be a requirement to concede territory, which it says it will not do. Residents in the Kremlin-controlled region of Donetsk are taking part in early voting in Russia's presidential election. It's the first time that the occupied territory will be voting in a presidential election. Most voting in Russia will be held from March 15th to 17th. President Vladimir Putin is expected to secure another 6-year term with only 4 candidates on the ballot. I'm joined now by DD India's Dasha Chernyshova live from Moscow. Dasha, the outcome of this election is a foregone conclusion, but the turnout is very important for the Kremlin. What is it doing to motivate voters?
Well, indeed, we understand from the most recent pollsters that the turnout in this year's presidential election is expected to be over 70%. And we have heard the head of Russia's foreign intelligence, Narishkin, saying earlier today that the Western non-governmental organizations are doing everything possible to make sure that the turnout is not that high, to later question the legitimacy of those questions. To increase the turnout, we understand that several forms of the voting have been introduced. There will be the mobile voting. And just earlier, I have found these leaflets being handed to my door in Moscow, asking the residents to come for the electronic voting, that they have an opportunity to vote online from the 15th to the 17th of March. They are also saying that people who will be voting in this year's election will also automatically participate in the lottery. So there will be certain awards given to people who participate in this election. With 4 people on the ballot box, on the ballot, certainly the result is very much anticipated, and that the Russian president, the incumbent president Vladimir Putin, will be garnering the wide majority and getting yet another term. But certainly for the Kremlin, it does appear that the turnout is very important in this year's election.
And lots of incentives being offered, but voting is also taking place in occupied territories of Ukraine. Tell us more about that.
Well, that's right. Early voting has started back on the 25th of February in the areas that are close to the contact line, especially in the Donetsk People's Republic. We understand that after that, between the 10th and the 14th of March, the early voting is possible with the mobile teams in these so-called new territories of Russia, coming to people's houses to give them a chance to cast their ballot in this presidential vote. We also understand that in certain areas, like in the Kherson region, voting is taking place both with the mobile teams as well as with the regular polling stations. But generally, those regular polling stations will be open between the 15th and the 17th of March, providing the opportunity for those who live close to those polling stations to come there in person and to cast their ballot. But at the same time, we've seen some early voting taking place also in the Belgorod region, which is close to the border with Ukraine. It is taking place because of the security concerns. Otherwise, we've seen early voting taking place in the remote areas of the Russian Federation. As a vast country, there are many hard-to-reach places in Russia, and that's why mobile teams have started to come there early as well.
Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow, thank you for joining us. There is uncertainty as to who will lead Portugal after tight results in Sunday's general election. Portugal's centre-right Democratic Alliance won the most votes by a small margin. Party leader Luis Montenegro, however, said that it was unclear if he could govern without support from the far-right Chega party, with whom he has refused to negotiate. The Chega party has warned the Democratic Alliance that there could be instability in Portugal if it's not included in the formation of the government.
There isn't a majority on the left, there isn't a majority on the right, there are still 4 lawmakers missing from outside Portugal, so it's very difficult to guess what's coming.
The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, will visit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant during his visit to Japan this week. Grossi is expected to check on the current situation after authorities began releasing treated radioactive wastewater into the ocean in August last year. Taiwan's top security official says Chinese forces have been trying to normalize drills near the island. It comes as China continues to step up its military activities near Taiwan, with almost daily incursions into its airspace. Director General of Taiwan's National Security Bureau, Tsai Ming-yen, says this is becoming a pattern.
I think there is a trend of China trying to slowly normalize their various military actions to exert pressure against Taiwan. In particular, the so-called Joint Combat Readiness Patrols. At present, on average, there is 1 Joint Combat Readiness Patrol in about 7 to 10 days. There are normally about 10 Chinese military aircraft, fighter jets, or special mission aircraft that operate in the airspace around the Taiwan Strait, and 3 or 4 Chinese warships to accompany the operations in the vicinity. It's a trend towards normalization.
Britain's Princess of Wales has apologised on social media for causing confusion by editing a photo released to mark Mother's Day. Several leading news agencies removed the photo amid concerns that the image had been manipulated. It was the first photograph of Catherine published by Kensington Palace since she was released from hospital for abdominal surgery in January. The princess has been absent from public life since Christmas, sparking rumours and speculation on social media about the health of the princess. Kensington Palace said at the time of her surgery that Catherine was unlikely to return to official duties until after Easter, which falls at the end of this month. That's it from me here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Julia. Julia Chapman joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. US companies are set to announce investments of over $1 billion in the Philippines. India's Supreme Court directs the State Bank of India to share all details of electoral bonds with the Election Commission of India by Tuesday. We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. India's President Draupadi Murmu made her inaugural state visit to Mauritius on Monday. As a significant highlight of the visit, President Murmu will be the chief guest at the National Day celebrations of Mauritius on March 12th, symbolizing a fresh chapter in the enduring camaraderie between the two nations. President Murmu will also hold bilateral meetings with the President of Mauritius, Prithviraj Singh Rupun, and Prime Minister of Mauritius, Praveen Kumar Jugnauth. Back to India, a program marking significant boost to women empowerment. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Sashakt Nari Viksit Bharat program at Indian Agricultural Research Institute, Delhi. Among the highlights of the program was the demonstrations of agriculture drones across India by the name Namo Drone Didis. Financial support worth $1.2 billion was also given to self-help groups either as bank loans or through capitalization support fund. The Indian Prime Minister also presented certificates of appreciation during the program to Lakhpati Didis, which means financially independent and secured sisters. Prime Minister also handed over the drones to 1,000 Namo Drone Didis. Prime Minister Modi said that women are achieving milestones in every field, including that of the IT sector and science and technology. He added that India has the highest number of female commercial pilots in the world. And he also said that women are capable of leading the technological revolution of the 21st century. Addressing the program, Prime Minister Modi said that any society can move forward only by creating new opportunities for women.
कोई भी समाज हो, वो नारी शक्ति की गरिमा बढ़ाते हुए उनके लिए नए अवसर बनाते हुए ही आगे बढ़ सकता है। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से देश में पहले जो सरकारें रही, उनके लिए आप सभी महिलाओं का जीवन, आपकी मुश्किलें कभी प्राथमिकताएं नहीं रही और आपको आपके नसीब पर छोड़ दिया। मेरा अनुभव यह है कि अगर हमारी माताओं बहनों को थोड़ा अगर अवसर मिल जाए, थोड़ा उनको सहारा मिल जाए, तो फिर उनको सहारे की जरूरत नहीं होती है, वे खुद लोगों का सहारा बन जाती है।
Foreign portfolio investments for the fiscal year 2024 are set to end with record net inflows in the Indian market. Net investments are close to $1.4 billion in the first week of March. After 2 years of net outflows, inflows this fiscal have crossed $36.6 billion and are set for a record close if the current momentum holds up for the rest of the month. The previous high was in fiscal year 2021 when FPIs injected $36.2 billion into the Indian markets. The Supreme Court of India on Monday dismissed the State Bank of India's plea seeking extension till June 30th to furnish details regarding electoral bonds. The court has ordered SBI to hand over all the information to the Election Commission of India by March 12th, which will be uploaded on its website by March 15th. Also, on the contempt petition filed by the petitioner ADR, the court told State Bank of India that if it disobeys the orders in future, the court will initiate contempt proceedings against its chairman. So far, 22,217 bonds were purchased between April 12, 2019 and February 15, 2024, which means a total of more than 44,000 documents are yet to be matched. On February 15th, the Apex Court had declared the electoral bond scheme unconstitutional and ordered the SBI to submit to the Election Commission by March 6th the name of the person purchasing the bond, the amount of the bond, and the information about the party encashing the bond. The High Commission of India in Bangladesh organized a seminar on India-Bangladesh Tourism Fair in Dhaka. The High Commission organized the event in collaboration with India-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Bangladesh Outbound Tour Operators Association. The High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Pranay Verma, highlighted significant steps in connectivity made over the last decade that has boosted cultural and people-to-people connections. Investments by the US companies amounting to more than $1 billion are set to be announced in the Philippines. The investments would be in areas of solar energy, electrical vehicles and digitization. US Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, while on an official visit to Manila, said that US companies are eager to do business in the Southeast Asian nation while also providing various opportunities to over 30 million Filipinos.
Companies that provide employment and professional development for thousands of Filipinos, putting them on a path to higher paying jobs. In fact, on this trip alone, these companies are announcing over $1 billion of U.S. investments, including creating educational opportunities to over 30 million Filipinos.
And we now take a look at what else is happening across the world. The unemployment rate in Canada has ticked up 0.1 percentage points to 5.8%. The population growth continues to outpace employment growth in the country. Flooding and landslides in the Indonesian province of West Sumatra have killed over 26 people, with 6 still missing, authorities have said. After days of torrential rain, homes and stores were left damaged by the inundation, and sections of a muddy road collapsed into an adjacent river, while other roads were blocked by fallen trees. And the 96th Academy Awards concluded with Oppenheimer bagging top honours, including that of Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor and Supporting Actor as well. Poor Things came up as runners-up with 4 wins. Take a look.
The biggest names in Hollywood gathered at the 96th Academy Awards in Los Angeles' Dolby Theatre to honor a year filled with cinematic brilliance and atomic energy. Aligning with critics' predictions through the season, Oppenheimer notched a total of 7 Oscars out of its 13 nominations, including for Best Film, Best Director for Christopher Nolan, Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr., and Best Actor in a Leading Role for Cillian Murphy.
Thank you to the Academy, Chris Nolan and Emma Thomas. It's been the wildest, most exhilarating, most creatively satisfying journey you've taken me on over the last 20 years. I owe you more than I can say. We made a film about the man who created the atomic bomb, and for better or for worse, we're all living in Oppenheimer's world, so I would really like to dedicate this to the peacemakers everywhere.
Greek filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos' dark comedy Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, took 4 awards, including for Best Actress in a Leading Role. Stone took her second career Oscar for her role as Bella Baxter.
I am so deeply honored to share this with every cast member, with every crew member, with every single person who poured their love and their care and their brilliance into the making of this film. And Yorgo, thank you for the gift of a lifetime in Bella Baxter. I am forever thankful for you. Thank you for inviting all of us to be members of this team.
And the dog named Messi from Oscar-nominated film Anatomy of a Fall won a lot of hearts with his cute appearance at the Oscars this year. Messi was seen applauding for Robert Downey Jr., who won the Best Supporting Actor award for Oppenheimer. The Palm Dog Award winner delivered the Best Animal Performance of the Year, playing a crucial role in the film's climax. So that's all in this edition of DD India Global. Tune in for another edition of the show at 7:30 p.m. That is 2 p.m. GMT. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.